What's up, guys? So today we're working on installing the Super ATV rear adjustable control arms. I'm doing these because Kyle from Union Speed Lab fixed the frame here. He fixed the frame, and so the adjustable upper control arm that he did for me that we currently have on the machine is creating a little bit of positive camber. So the driver's side rear wheel is kind of it's got a little bit of positive camber, and so I'm doing these Super ATV rear control arms so I can adjust them and kind of get the factory negative camber back here in the rear. So I got this kit from Super ATV. I'm gonna throw it on. They're a little bit beefier, they're a little bit sturdier. Let me show you guys. So these rear control arms, you got the uppers right here, you got the lowers right here. They're also offset and they have a little bit more ground clearance. So with some of these kinks and stuff in them, I guess you get a little bit more ground clearance. They're offset, so I guess you can run bigger tires. I don't really care too much about that. I'm pretty much doing these just to fix my rear camber issue on the driver's side. So you can see these are a little bit beefier than the stock control arms. Pretty much everything I get from Super ATV is pretty good, pretty nice quality. Did their front control arm kit. You can kind of see it here. Those are already on. But you know, they're nice and beefy, nice and thick, a little bit, they seem a little bit stronger than the stock ones that come on the Polaris here. So we're gonna do this install, kind of take you guys through it. It's not really a how-to, it's just kind of how I'm gonna do it. I'm definitely not a professional mechanic, so I'm just a guy in his garage with a couple tools, and I'm gonna go through it because I don't want to pay somebody else to have to do this kind of stuff for me. So the first thing we're gonna do is pull the rear section of the skid plate off. So we're pulling this off so that way we can use jack stands and put the rear of the Trail S on jack stands so I can work on the control arms. So that's where I like to position the jack stands, and then I also just leave the floor jack with just a little bit of tension at the rear jack point there. So I've got kind of 3 points of contact, and this thing's solid. It's not gonna move. Really important, you know, make sure that it's nice and stable. Shake it around a little bit. All right, so there's the upper control arm off. This is the adjustable one that Kyle made me, which was really helpful when the frame was still bent. But since he fixed the frame, basically the adjustment on this, with it just being as it is, has a little bit too much positive camber. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing these rear control arms. And here's a closer look at you know, some of Kyle's work and him fixing the frame. You know, it looks stock. He cut it, welded it, repainted it. It's really nice. It's almost like my big old rollover never happened. No more bent frame. So I'm going to try to do this without having to remove the axle from the hub here, because I don't really want to have to pull this castle nut off and redo this whole thing. So I ratchet strapped the knuckle assembly here, and so when I pull the lower control arm off, I think that this ratchet strap's just going to kind of hold it up into position because it is still connected to the axle right here, and that's going to save me a lot of time. Nice Walker Evans shocks here. Not too bad. I think they work pretty good. I ripped this thing pretty hard. Holy smokes. Friggin'. Holy moly, this bolt was on here hard. Woo! Good thing I'm strong. Man, Kyle's stronger than me. He's the one who put this on. Holy shit. A couple ugga-duggas on that. It's probably torqued a spec. Guarantee you. this bolt, or this nut was torqued to spec. I never torque it to spec. I just wrench on it. All right, there's the lower control arm off, finally. All right, so these rear arms here, the instruction manual says that the center of these needs to be 16 and 5/16 lining up with this lower section here. So I'm going to adjust these, and that should give me about 1 to 2 degrees of negative camber on the rear. Hopefully that works out, because pulling these off is a huge pain in the ass. You know, you got to connect them, and then if you want to make adjustments, you have to pull the whole thing off, which is not fun whatsoever and takes a ton of time. So I'm really hoping that this measurement works out. So we're going to go ahead and adjust these and throw them on and see how it looks. Son of a gun, we're having fun doing this lower control arm here. Honestly, I had to do it twice because I didn't read the instructions. I didn't print them out. Always print the instructions out and read them before you start. So basically I just set these lengths of the lower control arms where I thought they should be compared to the stock control arm. I pulled off, put them on, and this, you know, the side of this frame was bent. Kyle fixed it for me. However, it's still not perfect from factory. So getting the lower control arms and everything to line up perfectly is challenging. And then with these super ATV control arms, you have to get this little spacer block to line up as well back in here. And so that's kind of a pain in the ass with the bent frame. You know, again, it's fixed. Kyle did a great job, but it's not, you know, exactly as it was from factory, right? Because I had a huge crash, bent the frame, you know, he bent it, welded it back, fixed it. But we got this in, so I had to pull it off, read the instructions, set the length of these lower control arms to what the instructions say. So now they're back on, and we're just gonna keep moving forward. So always look at the instructions. So one of my main complaints with the Polaris RZR, at least on the Trail S, I don't know if this applies to other RZR models, but the braking system is kind of shitty. I mean, it's fine, you know, it'll stop the car, but the speed that I go through brake pads is insane. You know, like I can do like 2 trips ripping for a couple days and my brake pads are just completely shot. I'm not really sure what the deal is with that, but if I had one big complaint about this machine, it would be the braking system. You know, at some point, if I ever put a turbo on this machine and get another 50 horsepower out of it, I'm gonna have to really think about what I'm gonna do with the brakes. I don't even know if they make a different brake kit for these rigs, but the braking system is a little annoying. You know, I had a big issue with it after my crash. One of the lines got pinched, and so that was a whole ordeal trying to figure that out and get that fixed. But even before then, the brake pads, the wear on them is just terrible. And I've upgraded the brake pads. Polaris offers a stronger pad that you can go with, and so I've done that. But they just wear extremely quick. So as you can see, trying to get this little spacer block and everything to line up here is a pain in the ass, but it's not too bad. Got it done. So now I just got to get this one lined up, and then we got the lower control arms in. And that's pretty much the hardest part on this install, is just getting these all to line up. The sway bar end links tightened down, and now we're going to do the upper control arm here. The upper control arms are a lot easier to get lined up than the lowers. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and tighten all the hardware down. So everything's in place. nothing's touching, everything looks good. Pretty happy with the install actually. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get all that to line up, but it's all right. So the last thing that we need to do here is I need to secure this brake line to the lower control arm. You know, make sure it's not hitting anything, and then I'm basically just going to rivet it on right there. So I think this is a good spot. It's got lots of play, it's not touching anything. I'm just gonna go ahead and rivet it about right there. All right, so this Milwaukee rivet gun makes life really, really easy. I don't use this very often, but it's a pretty sweet tool. If you ever do have to rivet anything, it just makes it so simple. So I'll show you how this works. You just put the correct tip on, slide that sucker in right there, and then rivet it on. So this is what it looks like. I got the upper and lower control arms installed. The lower control arm is the only adjustable one. The uppers do not adjust. So you're basically setting your toe and your camber with the lower adjustable arms. I just set the length of them to the length that came in the instruction manual. When I first installed them and put the car on the ground, I was a little bit worried because the camber was a little bit off and the toe was a little bit off. And so what I did is I took it for a drive around the neighborhood, came back, and as you can see, seems to have settled nicely. There's a little bit of negative camber, and then the toe is probably slightly pointed in just a tiny little bit, which is exactly what you want on these machines. So it's looking pretty good. I still haven't tightened everything down. So I'm gonna pull the wheels back off, tighten everything down, and then pull the shocks off and do the springs. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Looks a lot beefier, a lot more aggressive from the rear for sure. But I pretty much did it just to fix this camber on this left driver's side tire. So there's the Super ATV control arms installed. You know, make sure you guys subscribe to the Beast Motorsport YouTube channel. I appreciate you guys watching. Take care. Peace.